Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special video today. We have got a special guest joining us. It'll be myself and Tom alongside Enzo, or Firoth, as he used to go by.
Or Fia.
My man. What a fee. Absolutely. you better fear this guy. Enzo, welcome to the show, man. Absolute pleasure to have you. And obviously a momentous occasion for you here from the Team Liquid facility. Congratulations, man. It must feel amazing to be signed to this organization.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It does feel amazing. I'm super happy to actually do an interview with you too. So I just want to answer everything already.
Excited or scared? Because there might be a few things you need to be worried about coming up.
Scared, excited? I don't know. I don't speak English properly, I guess. But let's say both. Both, you know. I don't know what, guys. I do not know what to expect, okay? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I have a Kinder Surprise in my hands. I think I just have to open it and answer, I guess.
We're going to start way back. So, like, obviously, well, I guess all of us technically came from CSGO. I want to say I came a little bit more from CSGO than you two, no offense. But, Enzo, I wanted to ask you, like, obviously, at least from my perspective, the only part of your CSGO career I know about is that you won an Irish Lamb, because Mitch brings that up until the end of time. But what would you, if you were going to equate your Counter-Strike career down to, like, a few words, what would you say that it's almost taught you, or what would you say were the big parts of it?
A few words to summarize is that I was studying at the same time, and most of it I took, like, I kind of did myself, in the sense that I took lead over stuff in the teams that I had on CS. So somebody had to kind of IGL, somebody had to control what we do in game. So just because it was necessary, I kind of took responsibility for stuff, and it paid off. That's what happened on CS. I think above all, and that's for Mitch, man, maybe I won a few Irish lands. But yeah, that's how I can summarize that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Neeks a while back, and he was telling me, like, yeah, he definitely remembers the most recent one you were at, where you beat Hype, you beat McNuggets, you know, some of these fellas.
Tobin. You carried Tobin as well.
Yeah, I remember.
In his backpack. Obviously, you played with those guys a lot as well. Like, obviously, against Hype and that line, you used to, but back in CS, because you started CS, what, 2017 professionally?
Yeah.
Or like amateur level at least?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You played with Connor back then as well, right? With McNuggets. Then came over and beat him in an Irish Slam. Those were good times.
Yeah, I think those were good times. I don't know what the timings are exactly, but I think I beat him first and then I played with him afterwards. But I'm not sure of that. But yeah, it's 2016 I started playing CS. So,
wow.
You know, I was studying at the same time. And then 2017 I started having my first HLTV games. Then we did 3 seasons of MDL, which is the Premier League. And after that, I started having some fun, playing a lot of different tournaments. I am Swiss champion, Irish champion. I don't know, guys. I just played some games, you know. But we had a lot of fun, yeah.
So I want to move on from that and get into the game we all know and love, which is Valorant. Now, for you, at least from my perspective, you're one of the early adopters. You came into the game very, very quickly, but you also signed to a pretty big organization pretty quickly. How did you, like, almost get into the right circles very early on in Valorant and end up in Ninjas in Pajamas?
Well, I started Valorant from beta on day number 2 of the beta release. So it's basically from the very start of the game.
Yeah.
And I haven't stopped since then. Every single day I am on Valorant. So I have never stopped. And the way I wanted to do things is that my studies were reaching their end. So I was about to get my degree. I had my exams to pass and everything. I was about to get my degree. And CS was not at its peak at this time for me. I was playing really well, but not in a very stable team at all. So I decided to check out Valorant, but I didn't want to check out Valorant and just, you know, play and have some fun. I wanted to check out Valorant and try to compete from the start and see what the game can offer. So I just made a French team with friends and people that I know, and we started competing, and everything that I learned on CS, I just applied to Valorant. And we started to learn a new game, and that made the team that we know as Hip Hip Hip. And and that transition to NIP afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember the ROG Cup with Prodigy as well. They were throwing together some rosters at the time, and NIP was an interesting time as well, though, man, because like there was a roster that had a lot of potential, and I feel like it never really peaked. But I was looking back the other day at some of these games, and you guys always ended up losing to like big names, FPX, Liquid, a lot of Liquid. Team Liquid were I think that was really when Scream was at its peak as well. You remember back in those days, he used to play the Reyna as and pop off on it as well. I miss those days.
I remember. Basically, when the beta was like about to be over and there was still already competition, it was two teams were competing against each other. One was named Fish 123, and the other one was us, Hip Hip Hip. So basically, I think Fish 123 were best in Europe. We were second best, and all the players from these teams were almost picked up. And Fish 123, I believe, became Team Liquid. So afterwards, there was a lot of competition logically between NIP and Team Liquid. And from what I remember, every competition we took place, we competed in, we ended up in semifinals with NIP.
And then the other one as well that popped up after you guys picked up after you guys were picked up by NIP. I think there was kind of a wave of signings, like you're saying. Fish 123 went to Liquid.
Yeah.
You also had G2, and G2 just started their run around that time of just being absolute lunatics. They would always make it to that grand final and take the cake.
Yeah, it's true. I remember that era like it was yesterday. You know, it was like really fun to play because it felt like everybody had a chance at doing something. Like anyone could beat anyone. Pro teams, amateur teams, everything was it wasn't balanced yet, right? So, and you had new talents that were upcoming from different games that transitioned from Overwatch, mostly from CS, from Fortnite, some and everybody was grinding the game to a point where like any knowledge that you have that is like over the others, you know, more knowledge than the others, you have a competitive advantage, and you can see it instantly in the game, you know. I remember from the beta era that we abused Omen TP and Sova Arrow synced at the same time, and we sent it Korea to get a lot of entries on Omen. Who would think of this? Who would think of this today? It makes no sense because it's so bad now. It's so bad, and even TP, the Omen TP is much faster now, and it was so slow back in the days, and it still worked, and we killed people because people don't even shoot the reveal. You know what I mean? So. But now the level is so high that you cannot do that now. But I have super good memories from that time. Yeah.
Well, sort of speaking of a team that I know Mitch will say may actually have been your peak, but maybe Liquid will be able to beat that. Your next roster after NIP was, of course, a team called, I think it's Alliance,
something like that,
Alliance, something like that. A pretty decent roster, especially from the time. Was it your best roster to date, just before Liquid, obviously? Enzo?
It was not.
It was his Apeks.
It was not.
Okay, I'll let Mitch ask the rest of the Alliance questions.
Yeah. For sure, I can say though that the Alliance Club and the guys and like everyone, like Kelly and Loda and the staff, it was like the first time that in my career I stepped up into a club that had like they did things really well, you know, like it and Mitch can confirm like these guys are super kind, brilliant. They know 100%. What they're doing, and it was like for me it was like I am very, very happy and honored to have been part of at one point of Alliance. I think for 1 or 2 years. I think it was 2 years.
Close to. Yeah, very if it wasn't 2 years, it was close to 2 years.
Yeah.
They're 100%. I can confirm that. Like the guys running the Alliance, Kelly Loda, all of the staff that we interacted with as well. It was the sad thing about it was that it was during COVID times. So we had like a bunch of opportunities to go out to the HQ, and I think we ended up there once, Enzo, when we were on the roster together. Like then I wasn't there that time.
Yeah.
So you guys had, I remember you guys had a concern because for French people, you couldn't leave the country. So
yeah, exactly.
It was like we were just locked in for months and months and months.
It was COVID era. We were locked in. And at one point we started having some boot camps after COVID. And one of them, Mitch, was actually there. Banks was there, I think 2 times or 3 times. And it was super good to have him around because where Banks wouldn't have an impact in game. He definitely had an impact outside of the game, you know.
He didn't have an impact in game.
Good manager.
No way.
Well, yeah, that's speaking the obvious, but he was managing us and advising us, and
Very well.
and guys, and as a human, like he was super good to be around. Like yeah, good memories from when Banks was there and Kelly was there and
Same.
Loda was there.
Those were good times, man. That was like a family atmosphere for a long time. I miss it.
Shall I remind you of some of the good times? You know, when you guys made it to the first Masters, there was some
First team.
some interesting highlights coming out of those Master events. So I'm gonna ask you, Enzo, to
weren't
just have a look at the screen.
Didn't you just say about the good times?
The good times,
Tom,
yeah.
you just
So
you
these
just
are some of the good
faked us out.
So I'm going to the top 5 plays of the Masters. We're gonna look at the top 2.
God.
You can just let me know when you can see everything.
I unfortunately can see everything. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a good thing, but let's watch.
I told myself I wasn't gonna cry today.
So this is the number 2 clip from this Masters. There's Enzo dying.
15 seconds. He has to find so much more. They're both in the same place.
Yeah, that was one of them. It was a good clutch from Akuma. Number 1 coming in hot. Oh, it's Takas. Oh, it looks like it's also against Alliance.
Feels like we had a content meeting here. You know what I mean? Like.
So I have one more clip. Now this one is specifically for Mitch Man.
You're a scumbag.
This is
You're
Mitch
wrong for
Man's
this.
favorite clip of all time.
You are wrong for doing this, man.
I'm wrong for doing this.
I just want to
I want you to know, Enzo, that this clip has caused Mitch more pain than maybe anything else in his entire life. So I kind of want you to explain to me how the fuck this happened.
Sheriff and 1HP, yeah. I mean, we were not that good at the game back in the days, I would say. It was easier to clutch like this. You see, Raze killing people with satchel? That's really early in the game. When you have a lot of satchel kills because it's broken, yeah? No, yeah, it's 43 HP and now 17 HP clutch, and he wins the 1v2. Well, technically it's quite easy to win because... Yeah, he's gonna win, guys. He's gonna win. Otherwise, he wouldn't be showing it. Like, yeah, technically it's easy to win because the breach has 4 HP, and then you just have to headshot the Raze. But
what happened to
easier said than done. It's like my Raze.
Yeah, we don't see it very much.
I guess.
Is it better than Mystic's Raze?
Oof. You can ask him if you want. He's right there. I don't know. I think Mystic Raze is legendary, so I'm gonna let his Raze speak for itself, you know. But yeah, you see, like I said, like headshot the. Do not split up. I would say do not split up, and that's what we did. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good highlight. Good highlight.
It's a good highlight. That's what reminds me of the Alliance days. I would like to somewhat apologize just because I feel like I've derailed this interview within the first
just opened a wound,
10,
bro.
15 minutes of it.
I want to say a fresh wound.
How do you feel about that, Mitch, man? I'm directing this one to you.
Oh, I feel great, Tom. I'm really, you know what the worst part about those was, aside from the fact that most of those clips I was on the desk for, because that was hard to watch from the desk. More so because Lauren and Mike actually, I don't know if you know, Hypok, like he cast that ace because it was at the end of the round. Lauren had finished the play-by-play and Mike hit it, and it was really hype. I remember in the moment I was feeling emotions like, yeah, let's go, while my team was just being shredded. And those were tough times mentally for me. Then we come back to the analyst desk and Sue's like, hey Mitch, we've got a clip here of a 1v4. Talk me through it, man. Whoa, how does that make you feel? What a nice shot, right? Oh my, that's beautiful. Why would anyone ever split up, Mitch? Why would they do that? That was thanks a lot, Ian Sue.
I didn't go and get the Yassine clip.
Yeah, no. Any Yassine clip is too much for me. Thank you very much. Especially when he walks out on split. I was watching that VOD back the other day actually, just to try and figure out why he assumed Hype wasn't covering it, and I still don't know. The guy's just a lunatic.
So, have you got any like positive questions you'd like to ask about Alliance before we move on to some of the big dogs?
Well, I mean, I guess it's a fair question then. And so, like, from those days, working with a lot of young players as well in a very young ecosystem, because I think Alliance, like, those would have been some of the more challenging days in the format as well, like where it squeezed you, playing back to back BO1s, not knowing what opponent you're going to play till 10 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
Those, and I remember coming up against was it Hunk? Yeah, those guys were nuts. Absolutely shredded us. And it was like our opening game, right? In one of the challengers open brackets, we went in and we played Honk first or second round, and they were unreal. I think it was like 13-11, and then we won all the other games easily. But what did you like? Do you have a lot of memories from that time where like you learned things, or is that more so like? Was this more drawing on the experience that you had from CSGO, where I guess it would have been similar, maybe not as bad with like not knowing your opponents, but I know a lot of those tier 2, tier 3 CS tournaments are rough.
I would say that it was. I have a lot of really good human memories. Like I would say, like like from being with people, with good people as well. Like and I still have them with the other teams now. But what I mean is that I believe Alliance is not where I grew up as a player, but where I grew up as a person the most. As a player, it's gonna be the next clubs that we are going to speak about. But no, obviously Alliance consider me as the captain of their team, and I did start, growing up a little bit as a captain there. What I did in the past at Alliance and what I do now has nothing to do with what I did in the past. You know what I mean? It's like I really I believe that I really improved on every possible aspect, whether it's in game or outside, and now I think now I definitely know how a team works, and I can do some great stuff. But back in the days at Alliance, it was more of an exploration phase. Of we make a lot of mistakes. That's what it was about. And I would say, to sum it up, this is where I grew up the most as a human.
Okay. Is it because Mitch was like a father to you?
That's nice.
No, I'm kidding. We'll move on. FNATIC,
It's the vibe I
you
give off,
mentioned it already. They were the next team. Your first outing, though, was actually not as sort of part of the team. You went into the Masters event, which is a very weird place to start your career with a team, is subbing in at a Masters. I think it was Durka was unavailable. Brave was the player that you were replacing. What was that experience like? Because obviously the matches didn't go great, but it was the first international LAN you played in Valorant.
Sorry, a guy with a balaclava and a knife went behind me. Guys, don't be scared. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. He might pop again very soon.
Okay.
Check behind me.
God. So the question was, what was it like stepping in for the sort of the Masters event, your first Masters event, international one, I guess, first international Masters, where you had to come in and basically replace some of the players that have managed to qualify in Reykjavik?
I think it was great. I was super happy to play on stage with such a club and for such an event, like playing Masters, and the fact that it was in Reykjavik, because it was a little bit during COVID times and there was a lot of COVID measures. I think it made it. It was basically a closed space, no audience and everything. So and afterwards there was like events with audience, so I could feel it gradually get more and more important, right? So I think the Reykjavik event was okay. We didn't win; we only lost games, but what we showed during practice, like the resiliency we showed, the working habits that I had, and everything. I think the guys at FNATIC, they liked it, and they just liked me as a player. And it's funny because one of them is just right there. I touch him with my finger. Yeah, right. Hello. And it worked pretty well, yeah. And after that we just continued and started the season. They just got me into the team.
Okay.
Those were also fantastic times. I remember seeing you over there. It was only a couple days notice we had on you actually turning up to play.
Yes.
That was crazy hype. And obviously you guys went from there through challengers. Challengers, didn't go too bad. Barely dropped a couple of maps along there, and even beat FPX. Which I guess at this point that rivalry was starting to fade. The FPX Fnatic, because Boaster had won that matchup, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But you guys finished the grand finals in EMEA by taking down FPX, and then played your first match against FPX, in Copenhagen. A 5-0 record, 5 back-to-back maps. What was it like to go from, a disappointing, I guess, opening international debut? All things considered, it made sense. Like we're talking about those substitutes at the last minute and so on. But then to so quickly make that pivot into a roster that's competing with, historic teams, and not only competing with them, demolishing them. Like what is the path like along that way? How does it 180 so quickly? Did the pieces just fit?
Well, from winning EMEA, being EMEA champion without losing a single game, to playing FPX for the 6th time, or I don't know what. yeah.
Something ridiculous.
And then eventually losing to them, because I think we lost to them
later on in Copenhagen.
Yeah, later on. And I think overall that year that we had with Fnatic was great. When you look at it, it was great. We got the VCT trophy. We did top 4 at Copenhagen, I believe, and then top 6 in Champions.
Yeah.
But if I take it step by step, I think Copenhagen, one of my greatest memory was the game against Leviathan, obviously. And we can talk about it if you want, but it's like, for me, it was one of the memories of the year, because it's the first time that I usually always step up for my team, but to that extent, it was one of the first times. Like, that round was over. The whole team was in the plane, in their minds, and everyone was shocked like this, like, no, we're gonna lose. And then, like, somehow I pulled off that clutch, and we kept on going, and I pulled off so many clutches during the overtime. So that I was super happy about, because I could win for my team, and that's the feeling of that is insane. It's great, overall, I think we could have done better during international events. I believe that Fnatic learned from that, and on the next year they did things a little bit differently for the preparation for international events. And we were almost there, almost there. It was just 1 or 2 rounds away, 1 or 2 clutches away, 1 or 2 better defaults away from actually reaching these grand finals, semi-finals, grand finals, and having a chance to win the event. So we were not that far away. We had a super good and super high level back in that day.
So, sort of looking at that, obviously there's 2 things that people sort of put down to Fnatic. One was that maybe the team was a little bit choky. I think that was one of the things that people looked at. And also, I kind of then want to ask is, with that, do you think that's some of the reason they made the changes they did? Because that was one of the surprises. I think Mitch, obviously, again, was devastated. But that roster that you had, as you said, it was very good. And I think the reason people were maybe a bit disappointed is because the expectations were they were so good regionally, they should be winning events.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to then go and make roster changes, I guess the only thing I can say is, if it was anyone other than Leo, do you think you would have still been there? Because it kind of looked that way from the outside.
Tom, can you phrase that again somehow?
Sure. So I guess...
Because I don't... Yeah.
I guess the way I would say it is, in terms of you ending up leaving that team, even after it being relatively successful and people expecting a lot...
Yeah.
Do you think the only reason that happened was because it was Leo? Because he was such a talented young player that people had really high expectations of?
Absolutely not.
Really? Okay.
No, I think Leo had a great impact in the team. We don't hear it in the voice comms, but I think he's a great second voice for the team, as in terms of mid-round ideas and calling and some micro stuff. But it's never only one person. Never. I think Chronicle brought a lot. Sorry, they're drawing a picture of me in the background. I think Chronicle brought a lot to Fnatic when you look at in-game stuff, and from what I heard, outside of the game stuff, he brought a lot of discipline as well,
Okay.
like additional discipline, at least a fresh approach to it. And I do believe that everybody stepped up. Like I said, the year where I was in Fnatic, we were really, really close to winning events, and just a better preparation, more discipline, more consistency. I believe consistency was also a key, especially under pressure. That would have helped so much. And I think Fnatic, everybody stepped up in their team. Like the coaching staff stepped up. Boasters stepped up and had much better mid-round curling than the year before. It's a team, so you all step up as a team, you know, and that's what happened for Fnatic. And I think they got the year they wanted to have. They lifted trophies, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, with the roster they swapped out as well, like we're saying, it was an unbelievable, still is an unbelievable squad that they managed to assemble, and I'm sure there's plenty of things that we can talk to Fnatic about on how those decisions went down, what it's like to build a team like that. But we can talk to you about what it's like to build a team like Apeks. I mean, putting this squad together. Talk to me about how that even happened in the in the fallout leading up to Polaris.
Yes, Apeks came to me when they were looking for an IGL, but they started obviously with the coach, Itopata. And they did this paired up with Magnum, who was free back in the days. And both together, they started discussing about what the lineup could be. The first time player was actually Keiko, who was a super shiny duelist in France. And when you watch his VODs, he was very promising. I remember watching his VODs during the off season and be like, yeah, he's actually good, you know, in the game. And then slowly but surely we started talking with Apeks, and I became their IGL, and that's how it started. And I believe that, you know, from my perspective, you have a year where you learn a lot about the game, but mostly as a person at Alliance. Then you have a year where you grow up so much competitively, playing all the tier 1 events you can play in, like, on the planet. So 2 Masters, 1 VCT season, and Champions. And I learned so much in the game. I wasn't IGL at Fnatic though, but I decided to step back in as an IGL at Apeks, and everything that I learned on every possible point from all these years, I just did my own thing and applied it to Apeks as best I could, you know. And I believe that it's the first time that we had a super good team system that I really like and allowed everyone to work together. So yeah, I think that's what Apeks was. It's a team of very talented and promising tier 1 and tier 2 players who wanted to go and win Ascension.
I'll also add to the start of the journey of Apeks was almost poetic, because many years ago you beat McNuggets at LAN, then you teamed up with him, then you came into Apeks. Your first game was against McNuggets, you beat him, you demolished him, and then he retired. So he's on his way back. So maybe one day,
Enzo's
you'll play together
end
again.
his career for the third time.
Yeah, I might
He's
do
gonna get
that.
good.
Yeah.
Boom.
McNuggets, be ready for practice, bro. I'm coming in practice games. Yeah, something rough might happen in practice. I might knife him or something, and
Oh my god.
And he's just out of the game again. Give him another 2 years to cool down.
One thing I want to talk about with Apeks that I feel like might be slightly different to every other team you've been on. Expectations with this roster were basically, this team is going to win Ascension. I think every single person that looked at your team went, oh yeah, Apeks, okay, maybe a focus can do some damage, but ultimately the goal was set from the beginning. You had the most experienced players. What was it like looking at the fan reception, even once your team is just built, that, okay, this team has to be a champion, otherwise it's almost a failure in itself?
yeah, it's the expectations were for us to win the whole thing from January, because we were looking alongside with Ascent as some very promising teams to win the whole thing. Obviously, when you compete and most of what you do is do or die during the year, I think it forges you as a player and as a person. Like either you do or die. It's these games that you play. You either win them or start another year. And some teams, they had to deal with this and they had to start again and be like, we lost early in April. Some teams, their year ended half or early of like April, and they knew they couldn't compete for the rest of the year until next year in January, and that's rough. So that season is like, you have to be ready, you have to be prepared, you need the talent, you need the work ethic, you need everything, and we had all of that. So that's what, it's basically it. It's like, yes, the expectations were really high from everyone, but inside the team we did things that matches these expectations so that we are really prepared throughout the year.
Did you like the name FNATIC Academy?
Yeah. All right. It's like, I think it was fun. It was really fun, actually.
Okay.
I loved my favorite part about the run, obviously Polaris was lights out. You guys looked like the better team there. There's a couple that could, trade a few punches with you, but for the most part it was a dominant run.
Are you going to say the Polaris trophy? Was that your favorite bit? It was huge.
Oh, by far. Yeah. I was surprised to see any one man be able to lift that. That's impressive. I thought it would be a team effort there, but wow. You guys got the muscle as well. And you muscled your way through Ascension. The same shenanigans, man. Like, you'd lose a map to Focus, one of those teams that could, trade blows with you in Polaris. Lose a map to Ascend. It's fine. Didn't lose a map to Gentlemates the first time. I'll tell you, I was pretty happy about that. But I can't imagine what it's like to go through that journey, which, by the way, it's worth illustrating the fact that you said this team began its run in January 17th, your first game against Human Trapwires. Do they call them Tripwires? Pardon me. Which that ability is actually called Trapwire, but I respect changing the names. It was literally 6 months to the day. The 16th, so 1 day short of 6 months that you were competing in the grand final. And we talked about the initial international lands and how the crowds were empty, right? It was just a bunch of covered seats because COVID and it couldn't be populated. We talked about how it started to heat up and you got more and more of a crowd in some of these events, even getting to compete in front of them. I believe Copenhagen, and not I believe, we definitely did have an audience in Copenhagen. I remember, again, not huge numbers. The EMEA studio wasn't huge numbers. I mean, we're still talking a couple hundred, but it's a very small and intimate arena, right? You're walking out into like a gladiator's pit, playing such a high stakes game in that environment. How was that for you? Did that change anything for you guys on Apeks?
I'm gonna answer that question, but first I need to come back to the Polaris trophies. Okay, so we got 2 trophies.
Do it, yeah.
The second one was like a trophy that we lifted. It was so heavy we almost had leg injury. But okay, the first one was a piece of paper, and it was so big. The piece of paper was so big that I swear if Mitchman is lifting it, it disappears. You don't see him anymore. It disappears behind it. There's no Mitchman anymore.
8 foot tall piece of paper. That's what we're talking about.
Did you take
here.
a photocopy of it so that you each got to keep one?
No, because it's no. It's unique. You have only one. Okay, you have only one. It's unique.
So who kept that?
Did you sign it?
It's at the Apeks HQ, and it's so big that it's an entire pan of wall. It's an entire wall, and I swear you could fit 2 Mitchman on top of each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
16 foot tall piece of paper. That's crazy. That's incredible. Impressive.
Yeah.
Anyways, on to the next one.
So about your question, it was about the arena. We are gladiators, gladiators in the arena. Yeah, about the arena, I would say it changed a lot of things actually when I think about it, because a lot of people were super loud for us, and there was a lot of energy in the arena.
Oh, there was one person who was very loud.
Yeah,
even irritating other fans.
Yeah, but that's good. That's good. And against Gentlemates, they had all the fans were here obviously, and it was super loud. But you know, when you have a big arena and a lot of people, it is super loud. But when you have a small arena with just 100-ish, it's also super loud because it's small and compact, and whoever makes a sound, you can actually hear it, and that makes it like really special because you think it's not a lot of people, but when they all shout at the same time, I can tell you like the ground is vibrating and you feel like everything. So I think that was great. Like when I think about it, I'm just happy that I played there and we played these finals and we went until that point.
Mm. Well, my sort of next question is obviously it's sort of a two-part. Number one, like, is there something you can pinpoint that you think went wrong specifically in that final versus Gentlemates? Because it's clear they played well, but I think
Guys,
expectations were still on you.
I'm
And
getting swatted. Yeah, I'm getting swatted for sure. Okay. Can I continue or yeah?
Should I ask that again?
Well, at least you have a really good image of Yampy on a SWAT costume just coming behind me. So
Oh, let's go.
yeah, and Bacon with the security cap.
Oh my god, we're gonna have to do an outtakes. I think of just you.
Oh, for
that
sure.
might just have to be the tweet. Is just a video of all the people walking past in different costumes. That can be what Zilv ends up tweeting out. But yeah. To carry on, the question was:
Yeah.
Is there something that you specifically can pinpoint went wrong in that grand final? And also, when it ended, did you know that was sort of like, okay, this is the end of this squad now because of how everything happens in Ascension?
Yeah, we knew this was either the last BO5 we played together or we play together if we win.
Yeah.
So to me, when I started this BO5, I wasn't like, I need to play to win Ascension to get to VCT. I was more like, I need to play to win this game so I can get to continue playing with these guys on the next year. That was my feeling back in the day, you know. And we played and we lost. And when you lose that, it's the same thing. I was not disappointed because I was a bit disappointed because we lost the whole thing and that year led up to this loss. But I was also very sad because most likely I wouldn't get the chance to play with any of them anymore. You know?
Yeah.
That was the feeling.
Okay. So my one sort of follow-up question, it links back to what I said earlier. Like I jokingly said, was Alliance like the best team you played with, but was it Apeks or FNATIC? Because I think those are the two biggest teams you've had within your career so far. Obviously, I think the new one probably takes precedent now, but of those two teams, which would you say was like, if you put them up against each other, you and the squad, who do you genuinely think would win?
To be very, very, very honest, and I think I thought about it at the end of this year. I think Apeks was the better team.
Wow.
Also because everyone is becoming better at Valorant, you know? Like over time, everyone is becoming so much better. And yeah, I think the FNATIC from the previous year, so when we were in the team, and the Apeks from this year, from these two, when you compare those, I think Apeks is the better team, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, now we get to, I guess, move on to the fun stuff, the more positive stuff. I feel like we've gone through some losses, some defeats throughout this interview so far. But Mitch, I know you're very excited. You've been excited since the rumors came in that Enzo was joining this Liquid roster. So I'll let you kick things off. Maybe start with who else is on the team.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going to go with it, right? Because I wasn't just excited to see you were rumored to be picked up by Team Liquid, Enzo. I was also excited when I saw Keiko is also going with you.
Yeah.
But then it goes past that. Mystic. Listen, before Enzo, it was Mystic for me. I remember his snake bites back in the day. The one thing I have to beg, meow. The one thing I have to beg is let him go back on the Viper. That's I told him before. I don't want to see him play any other agent. I know he's got assets that are there as well, but no. I remember so many fond memories of Mystic snake biting people and shredding them. But like you said, in Apeks, it seemed like once that game was lost, we knew, even behind the scenes, with no facts behind it, but we knew that some of you guys would get picked up. And in our minds, not by Liquid specifically, and certainly not together. Our thoughts were like, maybe someone needs a duelist, maybe someone needs an IGL, right? So you'll get picked apart. The same thing that we see happen to a lot of rosters, most rosters in the history of Valorant. I think maybe Angel is like one of the few who's been able to keep them together for a long time. How the hell did this happen? Like, for the three of you to end up there, was it, did you all go to trial with Liquid together? Or was this a gradual process? One guy's in the door, brings a recommendation, need a third player. Hey, I've got a recommendation. Like, how did it come to be?
So everyone from Apeks got picked this year, all the players and the head coach, and like I'm really happy that everyone got picked because we end up all of us in VCT this year, and that's a really really good thing for us because that's what we wanted to do initially, right? And about Keiko and Mystic together in the same team at Liquid, well, we all had trials with Liquid separately, and then we all had trials as 2 and then as 3, and like we mixed. They mixed everything. I think they had a trial process that was really really clean. They trialed a lot of IGLs, a lot of like they trialed for every role. Like they trialed for absolutely every role. So yeah, I mean it was really smooth and it worked really well with them. I did a lot of trials for a lot of clubs in VCT, and I had a lot of talks with a lot of clubs in VCT, and it went really well for me. And well, I chose Team Liquid.
Okay. So this is something else in terms of just Liquid in general. I think last year's Liquid team, most people looked at as the big money team. Like that was where Liquid spent all of their cash to try and win pretty much everything. They were going for a trophy. I guess they technically got the EMEA one, but I think they wanted a bit more on an international scale. Now they've gone with this roster, the core from Apeks plus Yumpy and Nats from last year. What do you think is the major differences between this year's team and last year's team in terms of maybe how it will work or in terms of roles, whatever you like? What are your expectations there?
I cannot really compare last year's team to this team right now at Liquid because I don't have all the info, and I really like to speak about what I know, right? But what I can tell is that this year the focus is going to be on team chemistry. The focus is going to be on being positive, being here for each other, and that might be the difference this year from last year about the environment, how it's going to be. Basically, we're going to do everything so that we can work in the best way. And yeah, because that's what I did at Apeks, and I'm going to keep on doing that, right? And I just love doing that because like it's really rewarding for everyone. So yeah, I think that's going to be the main difference from what I can tell right now, at least.
Have you been asked or have you been told any expectations? Because obviously, as I said, in Apeks, your expectations win Ascension. Is there anything there from Liquid like, hey, we want a Masters trophy, or we want to get to the Masters, or has there been anything put across, or just we want the team to be good?
We want the team to be extremely good. We have everything we need to be extremely good as well. We want to represent EMEA and be one of the best contenders in the world. We did not talk about precise expectations as in we want to win this and this. But you know me as a player, I'm not going to go and play an event. I'm not going to go and play an event if it's to just chill there. So I'm going to play to win every event. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go and play to win everything.
I'm super excited to see this happen, man. I'm super excited. I mean, getting to also a big difference between Apeks, where I know there would have been a lot of boot camps, but you're actually going to be on site with the squad then, right? In Germany, long term, living, if not together, close together, working consistently, playing out of the same studio like every single week. Do you think that's going to be a big adjustment or a big positive for you guys?
I think it's going to be a big positive. Like being together, it makes the team better. So Obviously, it's not an easy thing to do. You go away from your home, go away from your family and everything, and just go and live in Berlin and compete. But like it's like an adventure, you know. So it's great. I think it's great, and it's going to bring so much like good things to the team. Like we get to work next to each other. We get to work together. We get to like everyone is available for each other at all times, and then we compete and we fight together. It's great. I think it's great. We fight next to each other and stuff. I really like that.
Okay. One of the focuses, I guess, from this roster is you as an individual. I feel like the community has mixed opinions. Like some people rate you very highly, Mitch, as an IGL. Some people don't really know, and then there's some that have that sort of like criticism of like in big moments, maybe that's where Enzo goes a bit missing. What is your outlook like coming into this of yourself as an IGL? Do you still feel like you have a lot to learn, or has Apeks and FNATIC, you've picked up the pieces to now challenge for a title?
I did pick up the pieces to challenge for every title in the world, but I do believe that as well I have a lot to learn. You always have, like at all times, you always have something to prove to everyone, or at least to yourself. And I think the only way to improve is to start from the basis that you don't know much, right? And from there, you always learn every day. And that's what I try to do, at least. Obviously, I'm super confident in my abilities, but I'm always going to be like really open and in my mind think that I don't know like everything, obviously. And I think it's a great way to approach everything you do in life. Like, talking about expectations from the community or the fans, I want to say thank you for supporting me. That's the first thing, because I have a lot of support, especially on Twitter, and I really appreciate that. To those who don't believe or to those who have doubts, I think it's normal and it's great to have an opinion as well. And I mean, it's okay. What can you do, right? I think it's okay. Like you can prefer a player over another, right? But know one thing. I think the thing that you need to know is that when you look at a player, you don't have all the information about him. You barely know what he does in game because you see his movement, you see his aim, his mechanics, and everything, and that you can have a judgment on. But most of the things that happen in a team, you don't see, you don't know. And most of the things that a coach is doing or an IGL is doing, you don't see and you don't know. You have no clue. Like it's impossible to know, because when you watch a game, you cannot know anything about what the guy is calling, who called that move, who called that play. Maybe somebody made a bad play because of a miscommunication from someone else, and then it's his fault, and you have no clue that someone else is someone else's fault, right? Maybe somebody made an insane play, and it's not really his own doing. Maybe it's his teammates that enabled him and told him, "Watch out there. Maybe you have a timing there, or there's two guys coming behind you." Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, watch out, they have a Sova ult, you know, and that changes everything. So there's so much information that, as a spectator, you know nothing about, and it's completely normal, but you cannot know anything about it. But take that into account before making a judgment, because being an IGL and being a coach is a work of the shadows, and you don't know what these guys are doing, you know. So yeah, I think overall the community has, from what I read, a good judgment about what I do in game and outside so far, and I'm super grateful to that. Now it's like for the team and everyone. Obviously, everyone has opinions, but I think it's normal. Now it's up to us to go in game and show them, you know. And I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Well, listen, talking about being in game, I have another question, and it's about next season, EMEA. You're going to be playing in a league with teams like FNATIC, who you played with before, who let you go, who sent you down to the depths of tier 2 to fight your way back on Apeks, playing against a team like Gentilmates, who came in and obviously tried to gatekeep you from getting into VCT. They beat you. They took that spot. They almost forced you to disband the entirety of the Apeks roster. Luckily, you guys found a home together, and now you're going to be fighting in that same league, as well as I'm sure other teams that you've trialed for, sure. Being French as well, maybe KC, maybe Vitality also will draw your eye for this question. I'm wondering, is there a team in here that you would set as a bar of like, you want to beat them? Maybe it's a rivalry. Maybe it's just, if we beat them, we know that what we're doing is right. Who would you want to take down in EMEA more than anyone?
I think this year for EMEA, if you beat FNATIC, if you beat Navi, if you beat the 2 Turkish teams, you're in a good position, because you know that if you beat these 4 teams, you have everything it takes to win the whole thing. The whole thing. That's what I think.
Both Turkish teams.
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
BBL, getting respect.
Because no offense, I could with Foot's performance last season, I could see it. I wasn't that high on BBL, so maybe I'll have to keep an eye out, because last season they didn't look great, but they do have a new team.
But you never know, you know. It's like they have such an aggressive playstyle that you need to be prepared for it. And
if you could survive BBL.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be prepared for it. So I think if you just, obviously, I would like to beat everyone. That's not. Yeah, I just want to beat everyone. I think everyone wants to beat everyone.
Yeah,
but
it's a good bar to set.
As reference teams, I would really like to beat FNATIC and Navi. Now, talking about rivalries, like, obviously, but like, I think playing against FNATIC is going to be super fun. That's what I think. And Gentlemates, I am coming.
Hey, all I'll say is that from the clips I showed earlier, Logan and Takas probably aren't scared.
Yeah.
Need.
That's all right.
There's no need.
That's all right.
No need for that.
I have one last question, and it's about Keiko, because everybody else on your team has played within the very top, played within the leagues before, played international events. In fact, most of the players have played multiple. So for him, this is going to be a step up. Obviously, Ascension was a grind. I think he showed that he definitely has that individual ability. Is there any worry there from you going into this VCT season for someone like him?
I think there's not any worries for Keiko to jump into a VCT season like this, because I think he's done great throughout the year. From January through Split 1, then Split 2, then Ascension, then this whole off-season where he actually stepped up even more during the off-season, where he learned that he learned so much during the off-season. He has one of the cleanest comms I've seen as a duelist. I think he's great. I am super confident that no matter what he does, he will do great. I think, yeah, I have no worries for Keiko about VCT. He does look like the rookie of the team because he has maybe less experience or played less, like, obviously played no tier 1 on-stage events, but I just can't wait to see him there because I just want to be next to him and win with him.
Thank you very much for joining us, Enzo. It has been a pleasure talking through your career so far, touching a little bit of CS, a lot of Valorant, Tom getting his clips in. I knew the second he told me, I've got some clips I want to show you. I just share my screen real quick. We should have said no, but next time we know that no more clips from Tom. I'll provide the media next time. Thank you so much for joining us, Enzo. Really, I meant the best of luck at Team Liquid. You know I'm going to be either in the casting booth screaming for you or in the crowd screaming for you. So
bias casting.
I look forward to all the complaints about bias casting this year, but I'll take him on the chin, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. For these like dramatic questions, sometimes that brought a lot of emotions. For these funny questions, and above all, for these very good quality clips. Like, thank you very much for these memories, guys.
I have one last thing.
Yes, let's go.
Who's your biggest fan, Mitch or your girlfriend?
Oh, the competition.
Wow.
The hardest question.
Who has more pictures?
The hardest question.
Wow.
Who has more pictures of Enzo hung up in their house? That's the question.
Yeah, to this I have the answer, and I'm afraid the answer is a little bit strange.
It's not what you'd expect.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave a little bit of suspense on that question. I don't. I see you next year for the answer. I don't know, guys.
We'll do a decibel measure while you're playing of who's screaming the loudest. That's how we'll get it.
2024.
It's gonna be tough
when you
for
get
me.
the close of that question.
2024, you're gonna know depending on who was the loudest in the crowd. You know.
Hey, I'm going to be practicing. I'm going to get professionally vocal trained, so I'm ready to compete in this tournament.
Why have you not been doing that
laying down.
anyway as a professional commentator?
What do you mean? What do you mean? I do karaoke all the time, Tom. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going down the local karaoke booth and practicing.
Right, let's cut it there. We got told by Zilf, no going off the rails. Enzo, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you once again. And obviously, anybody in the comments, let us know who you'd like us to chat to next. We haven't had many interviews when it comes to the Double Peak channel, so obviously we had to get someone in like Enzo to be the first, but if there's anybody else you'd like to see, maybe a teammate, maybe you even saw some of them wearing some odd outfits in this video. I don't know what made the cut, but either way, we will see you then next time. Goodbye, guys.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.